the Grak of Junjun. If you can shut that down, if you can make it harder for Thailand to win those poke fights, then China can maybe be better going into the full team fights.
Well, let's get into pick and ban here. The draft for Game 2. China on your blue side, Thailand on the red side. After picking up Game 1, and for China, what is going to be the plan? Are you going to look to try and stick to the same? Actually, an interesting one here.
Yep, I agree.
Ban out the Malik.
Like I said, get rid of some of those control abilities. The Malik is the largest control ability in the game, I think. Don't quote me on that.
But that was on the side of China, remember? 90K was the one playing it.
But if you're looking to change up your own draft, then getting rid of the Malik means that you don't have to worry about it getting played against you.
For Thailand, though, red side ban, obvious here. It's going to be the Omen. This is kind of interesting for me, TJ, because for Thailand, you know, they came into this draft so far. You're kind of forced to ban away the Omen and the Superman. You leave one of those up, it's going to be likely automatically picked by the blue side. Even then, they're able to play this game. They're able to play confident in their composition. For China, though, blue side going to be, of course, the teamy ban.
Teamy, the character, I don't think we've seen any of...
We saw it once in the last series with Korea and Chinese Taipei.
And it's so good unless you have the team play to shut it down. That's why I think it's China deliberately banning it out here, because Thailand are a team that maybe feels confident enough in their coordination they can make that communication happen.
Now, this one's an interesting one for me, TJ, because oftentimes we see the RM being banned on the red side. China, though, opting to get rid of it.
Control abilities. If you're talking about a team, Thailand, that just was so well coordinated with abilities that stunned, slowed, knew how to leverage them in a team fight, you really don't want them at an RM, who, by the way, has so much control.
Just a giant AoE wave that goes through in a straight line, and especially during those jungle fights, is pretty lethal. For Thailand, though, going to be banning away the Lindis, once again forcing Yi-Chen to go on something different.
Yi-Chen's so good on the Lindis. If you can ban away the Lindis, at least they're playing Fennec, which we've seen you can deal with.
They were able to go toe-to-toe with them, even when he was farming up pretty fast in the early game.
I'd actually like to see Yi-Chen play Slims here now, because you know Moss, or you know Thailand aren't going to counterpick Slims or Fennec, so instead, you force them to change their own strategy, and even if they get Violent, who's a very powerful marksman in her own right, you know that they don't have that stun capacity, the constant CC that Thailand were abusing so well last game.
Now, for this one, TJ, China, they ended up banning the Zenial in Game 1. Now going to pick it up first in Game 2. Put it on one of their split lanes, look to try and apply pressure, but then come back for those team fights. I feel like this is China admitting, hey, we got to go toe-to-toe with these team fights, but look at this from Thailand.
Oh, boy.
This is a power move.
It's Moss on Grak, and I cannot wait. Moss is one of the best Graks currently playing the game, and he's currently playing Grak.
On top of that, you get the Chugnar to try and interrupt any kind of CC that's thrown at you.
Yes.
That can likely, he'll be able to get that Grak ultimate off just fine.
One thing I will say, though, is China's use of that Zenial is insane. They constantly, it feels like, have the knowledge and the communication to bring that Zenial into the fights and creative and new ways we don't typically see.
Well, seeing here for China, Nanwan, he's cycling through all his picks, taking all his options. I'll have to see whether or not he's going to go ahead and just pick randomly, it seems. He did pretty well on that Tulin.
I think he's just using the Lucky Spin feature.
Oh.
He's just going through all of the mages. That Scud will come through to complement him. That makes sense. And we're ending up on Nanwan's favorite mage, Tulin. He's a very predictable mage player. He only really plays Tulin.
Yeah, but he likes to go very aggressive. You saw that in the last game. Likes to dive into multiple members when they're low health, try and pick up those multi-kills. He picked up a triple, I believe, actually, during the tail end of one of the fights. And there's a reason this guy has the highest amount of kills in the tournament.
He's nuts.
He just dives in. He's bloodthirsty.
One thing I would like to note is we haven't yet seen Crixie in this game. And we haven't seen Crixie banned either. But you want the Raz into the Grak. That Grak is now on the Thailand side. Memarks, I would expect him to go for a more static, higher damage mage.
And with that, too, because the mage was already shown on China, Thailand can then opt to go ahead, look to try and pick up other roles. They're going to go ahead, pick up the Slims, try and get that pick potential with the Flying Spear, and of course, for Remix on the Irie.
That Slim is very important to the Thailand playstyle, and I think Thailand struggles when they shift 007 over to a more damage-focused marksman, because he's not a raw talent like you sometimes see on teams where marksman's hard carry. He's just a very, 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 very good team player.
For China, though, this would be out of the question. Junjun was one of the players in group stage to actually bring out the lumber, so it wouldn't be surprising.
I like
for
lumber.
Me. The Rourke, though, would be a little bit different.
Going into this tournament, I would have said we're going to see a Rourke every game because he's devastating. Coming out of the group stage, we haven't seen any. Rourke has been played, but he's never been effective.
Well, for Yichen, too, on that Rourke, he does look to farm up really fast. He can get that gold funneled onto himself, so he can maybe try and impact the lanes, impact those fights when he has the spike of gold.
You do actually bring up a good point. The Chinese playstyle is very much about funneling Yichen a lot of the time. You put him on Fennec, and that results in quick tower deaths and very good burst damage onto opposing players. You put him on Rourke, I think the same thing can happen, but Rourke has slightly less capacity to deal damage to towers and slightly more capacity to win these long team fights, which Thailand were struggling with.
Yeah, and on top of that, too, he's pretty predictable. He has to come directly to you. He has to get close if he wants to do that damage. And when you're getting in range of a Grak, that's a little bit concerning, even though you do have his ultimate.
Yeah, his ultimate, of course, does slow down the damage he can take. It gives him a ton of shielding, and he actually gets a percentage of the damage he deals as shield HP, which is kind of like lame lifesteal, I guess. One of the major things, though, is it will allow China again to last longer during these fights, and that's where they were for some time struggling. Whenever a fight tended to go on into the later phase of the fight, Thailand cleaned it up.
Yeah, we saw that. And for China, like my big question is, if you do funnel that gold onto Yichen, are you going to be over-aggressive? Are you going to try and make the Dark Slayer play that can cost you the game?
An aggressive China is a good China.
It's a fun China.
Because when they play very aggressive, when they consistently are able to push into the enemy jungle, I think that's where they play their best AoV, but it only happens oftentimes when they feel like they've fully farmed. Thailand, I think, took advantage of that because by the time China felt comfortable, Thailand were ready to go as well. If China are willing to play aggressive and focused from moment one in this game too, I think that favors them.
But I feel like you have the ability to try and fight back during those fights if they over-aggress, because you got the Grak that can easily punish for positioning if you try and go a little too aggressive, especially near the early towers. If you're able to get dragged underneath the tower, there's no escaping that.
The Grak is a major pickup. I won't contest that. Moss, especially playing him, he's insane. I feel like I haven't stressed this enough. Moss is the person that made me believe in Grak.
There's a reason why Rip often refers to him as the boss. Because he's able to make the plays, he's able to set up everything for Thailand.
Did you know, and this is my fanboy moment, I've actually aped Moss's build. When I play Grak, I use his build because he is that good. He is the defining Grak player of the meta for me, and I think they absolutely can pull that out here.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a look here, guys, because it seems like we're just going to have to reformat the draft. I think the picks are going to remain the same because it looked like China, they were unable to actually swap. So maybe that Rourke pick actually isn't getting locked in. We'll have to double check.
Well, I think it was a case where they weren't able to get the characters onto the players they wanted. So you ended up with the Rourke on the person who picked it as opposed to the Rourke on the person who wanted to play it in-game.
What do you mean? They're going to obviously not funnel the Rourke on Yichen. That's totally not the strategy, TJ. What are you talking about?
Fine. It's just a case of getting your characters in the right places on the right players, and I'm sure it'll happen. It's just a case of a few more minutes.
That's all right. You get a little bit more time with us. You know, we like.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Abort.
All right, but let's try and bring it back here, TJ. When you're looking at the team style play from game one from Thailand, looking for those fights, looking to fight back against China's early aggression. If you're China here, you try and swap out your play style.
To a certain extent. I want to see China play a little bit more aggressive because they are a very, very, very good aggressive team. But I don't want to see them play so aggressive in the early game that they're not able to get that farm. So much of what China does well is power farm in the early game. Get their key players fed, get their set plays, their set strategies ready to execute. If they're not able to do that, if they're not able to build those set strategies to succeed, then they're going to struggle again in those late game team fights. And we said they struggle when games get late. They also struggle when team fights get late because that's where they have to start adapting, and they seem a little bit uncomfortable adapting mid-game and mid-team fight.
Yeah, because they like to make chaos in the mid part of the game. That 7 to 10 minute activation for China, that's where they decide to go for the plays.
Yes.
Look to really crush their enemies. They like to go for the base at that point. They want to try and find a team fight in the mid lane or in a the side lane around the objective. Go ahead, take that Darkslayer. And we saw that. Exactly 7 minutes, they went for the Darkslayer, TJ. Didn't pay off. So now they got to kind of reel themselves in.
Much like this desk, China plays as if they're scripted sometimes. And that enables them to just tear through games when everything goes right, because they just play through their bullet points. They know exactly what they want to do at every point in the game, but when things go wrong, when their play gets stuck up, when their set execute on the tower gets shut down, then they have to start adapting, and that's where a team like Thailand, who's super experienced with this specific edition of the game and has such a long time playing together as a team, will come out on top oftentimes.
And you're coming out of the boot camp as the victors on the side of Thailand, so you're coming in pretty confident, but now, looking here, they have themselves the first game against China. Still, though, their group stage play, they've shown times where they were able to kind of disrespect their opponents, and it came back and bit them.
The one game they dropped was a game where, what was it? It wasn't Pura. I remember that because I thought it should be Pura.
No, I'm trying to remember.
It was an
Arthur.
Arthur.
It was the Arthur.
I remember the Arthur because it was especially strange, and they played it and it backfired. So getting overconfident is a consistent problem for Thailand. I don't think it'll happen here, though.
Yeah, well, it looks like we're going to go ahead very shortly and get ourselves back into the draft here between China and Thailand.
We have been told the problem was specifically with the 5th pick over on the Chinese side. That would be the Rourke.
Yeah, because honestly, we were kind of questioning that Rourke there, TJ. We were thinking, you know, it does make sense for China.
It makes sense if their primary focus is team fights, but that's never really been the Chinese focus.
No, they try and get members that are caught out of position, trying to maybe push a little bit, especially those split lanes where China really like to try and punish their opponents. So let's see here. Again, draft going to be pretty quick here from what I've been told. We're going to go ahead and try.
It should be identical.
Should be identical up to that final pick for China.
And when we get there, like I said, I would have really liked China to try and bully 007 off of the Slims, because you don't want that big CC, those spear throws, constantly punishing your backline and your key characters. They don't go for that. 007 already drafted the Slims earlier on in the draft, so it needs to be something, I think, high damage. I'd actually really like a Violet. I don't think we've ever seen Yi Chen playing a Violet, but I'd like to see him play it here, because having that extra ranged poke gives you the potential to take Thailand's players low before they can get into the late phase of the team fight. For me, China need burst damage.
And on top of that, too, you do have 9AK that's going to be on the Zenial, so that if Yi Chen does get a little bit out of position, he will have the ultimate coming on through, provide a little bit of shielding and some protection. But again, the question is going to become for China, what is going to be the plan here as we get to now see a look at the picks coming through.
They seem to really be talking it over. They didn't know why they ended up with the Rourke, I assume. But
yeah, I guess that was the big question. They're like, guys, come on, we're serious.
Oh.
Okay, so ooh, this would be a little bit different. This is not what
this is the Mina.
All right.
Okay. I mean, by the 5th pick, it doesn't matter because it's in the same cycle. Yeah. So when I say 5th, I was thinking vertically. They were picked at the same cycle, so it's the same. But the Mina coming through is a change-up. It gives a lot more potential HP and damage within the fight, but we haven't really liked seeing the Mina in that support role, because if the Mina has to take a fight, it's all on how built they are. It's not about their control abilities. They have the Dark Dominion, and that's basically it. If they have to actually take a fight, then they need to be ahead. They need to be winning the game to win the fight.
And on top of that, you're going to be running directly into Thailand, which has that spear, that has the hook available. And if China does fall behind, if they get punished early, if they overstep like we saw last time, it can come back. But this is what you were talking about for Thailand. Crixie getting locked in.
Yeah, I like it. Maymarks swapping over. Like I said, you don't have the Grak opposing you. You no longer need to run the Raz. Maymarks play something a little more static. Crixie doesn't have the same escape potential as the Raz, but she has 8 times the damage.
Yeah, especially the AoE damage when it comes to these team fights.
Moonfall!
Yeah, you got the Moonfall, a bunch of AoE, and especially for Thailand, if they're able to go with their front line with Moss to get into that jungle, find those fights, control members of China, that could be a devastating combo.
You know what that Mischief Nature's Wrath combo is perfect for? People have been hooked. You pull somebody in, and then slam them with a spear throw, follow through with Nature's Wrath and Mischief. They're dead then and there.
And if not, Remix could clean it up too with the Irie.
Yeah, you've got infinite stuns, infinite CC, and infinite damage. I think this is a draft that plays massively in favor of Thailand because they have everything they were looking for and a little bit extra. I did not expect them to get the Grak. I'm happy they did. They have infinite control and a ton of damage.
Well, for me, though, with China, it's Yi-Chan on the Rourke. You know, the gold's going to have to be funneled onto him early if he wants to make an impact, because that's where Rourke succeeds, is getting ahead into that mid-game, putting down a lot of damage.
It's a draft that favors the Chinese playstyle. They want to win in the mid-game. They aren't going to succeed late because that Rourke will fall behind, but Rourke's power spike, his point at which he's doing the most damage, is about halfway through the game at the 7 to 10 minute mark. That's when he's going to get out ahead, that's when he's going to win the fights quickly, and that's when the burst is going to be highest, and that's when China look their best.
Yeah, that's usually around the time China likes to hit the go button. Looks like, though, the players had to take a really quick pause when they entered onto the game. Looks like we're just sorting out one more quick bug, and then we'll be back into Game 2 between China and Thailand. And for China, you know, they came in here feeling pretty confident. I know I got to talk to a couple of their players really quickly through their translator, and they felt really confident. You know, they had the extra week to prepare coming to the TCL Theater, and now your first game, you're now down 0-1 in the series. How does that affect you?
Many people were theorycrafting China versus Korea.
Even Korea themselves were feeling it.
Korea, when you talk to them, said specifically, we expect it to be China in the finals against us. Now, this is double elimination, which means that even if you lose here, Thailand or China could still come back to the finals, but this would be a major blow.
Well, we're going to go ahead, load on into Game 2 here between China and Thailand as we get set to see whether or not Thailand can go ahead and pick up a 2-0 series lead against China, or can China bring this back, tie us up, and get us down into a best of 3.
Early game poke from Thailand. They're looking for this Grak hook. The reason you go for that set execute is because you can pull the buff all the way into the Dragon Pen. I don't think anyone had kited it, so I think he just missed. But if Moss lands the hook, they have 2 players there instantly to follow through, burn down the buff that's just been pulled in. You have a free golem.
I'll see here, actually. It was like Thailand actually did not try and go for the invade on the other side, so Yi-Chan's going to get himself 3 buffs.
They thought that they were going to land that hook from Moss and get the buff instantly for free. They wouldn't need to risk a full invade. And as a result of that, I think they've actually made a pretty major misplay, and they're behind in gold.
And this one's actually interesting. For Yi-Chan, he says, I already got myself the Sage Golem. I can just go ahead and give that to Nanwan in mid lane.
Yes. So, watch out, because we said stack Yi-Chan earlier, they may have.
Well, you see there, Moss forced to flicker away. Junjun was also there to the side on the Mina. Actually, Nanwan got caught up with the knock-up. Maybe they were trying to pick up the buff for themselves. They said, oh, that was the whole game plan. We let Nanwan pick up the buff, and we just kill him in mid lane.
I like the pressure there from the Mina. We said Mina is a kind of weaker mage because they don't have control abilities they can rely upon should they fall behind. But if you can play aggro, if you can constantly be finding farm and level and damage, then you don't have that problem.
You see here already China looking to rotate toward the bot side of the map. The Abyssal Dragon going to be spawning here in 3 seconds. This is looking pretty similar to Game 1, where they were looking to find the Abyssal Dragons early, stack those up, get the gold, get the experience right away. Yi-Chan over toward the side. Abyssal Dragon down to about 2,000 health. Junjun actually flashed over the Dragon to catch out Mimarks. On top of that, China pick up the Abyssal Dragon.
The kill on Mimarks is massive. That is the vast majority of the Thailand team damage, and they also got more gold on Yi-Chan. He is the guy who was able to get into the middle of that fight. He's the guy who survived that fight, and indeed was able to pick up the dragon for his team.
So already the start China was looking for, very close to Game 1, where they got themselves the early Abyssal Dragon and a first blood. Now they just got to continue on that pace. Meanwhile, for Thailand, what do they have to do here, TJ? What do they have to do to
slow down the game?
Slow it down.
Keep getting invades, keep taking away buffs, make China a little bit more hungry for gold, and put them in a situation where come that 10-minute mark, Thailand are still close enough on par they can start leveraging their better team fight coordination.
Well, Spirit Sentinel was started by China, but they want to try and go into this jungle. Moss looking for the hook. Not going to find it, though. 007 wants to try and contest for this monster. Remarks looking to
very
steal
well
it
played.
away, but Yichen is able to pick it up.
China waited on doing damage to that buff. I think it was actually perfect timing from Memarks to throw out the projectile to try and steal the individual jungle camp away. But China waited, baited out the damage. They knew it was going to come in, and they were able to pick it up afterwards. Just fun little game knowledge.
Feeling pretty confident here. Thailand actually coming back into China's jungle on the bot side of the map. Looking to try and answer here. Moss is going to land the hook into the flying spear. This is the combo with the knock-up into the moonfall. Memarks can't finish off the kill. Jun will survive, and now the turnaround from China. Namwan just jumps into the middle of everyone, but gets taken down. Thailand is able to answer back. 9AK running for his life, but Remix comes around on the side and picks up a kill for himself.
You can't team fight versus Thailand, not like that. If you want to win these fights, China, you need to do so off the back of burst. Focus down players. Don't sit in a situation where you're taking a long engage, especially not versus Moss.
And Moss now going to actually start up the Abyssal Dragon. Jun is able to get the hook on down as well as the ultimate. Moss going down pretty low, but the wombo combo. Thailand picks up another kill on China.
And they know China won't dare complete that Abyssal, so they just fall back, keep it resetting, don't take any risks with low HP on your key frontline characters like Moss. Poke it, reset HP, come back later.
Oh, Memarks actually gets taken down there by Nanwan. So they're able to find a kill in the mid lane. That should open up Dragon for China.
And because they now have that Dragon, China are able to reclaim that gold lead. It's now going to shift a little bit more dominantly in their favor. It's all on Cherry.
You see Dragon being taken here. China are able to pick it up themselves. Yichen will get the credit. And slowly getting more and more gold onto that Rourke. But you wouldn't say he's very far ahead at this point. He's only been farmed. He hasn't been part of any kills.
He started well. He's had good farm, but he's still only 100 gold ahead of his counterpart, the Slims.
Going to go ahead, pick up the Sage Golem for himself in the jungle. You see Yichen during playoffs so far. 20 kills in that quarterfinals.
That was insane. How many games did he play? Just 3 maps, right?
It was only 3. It was a 3. No, that was 4 games because it was China versus Vietnam.
Okay. Little bit less scary, still terrifying, especially given China's quick game time. That's 3 kills in 3 10-minute matches.
And Nanwan too, also adding on to his kill counter for the most kills in the tournament. And the first tower of game 2 going to be picked up here, and they also pick up the kill on Remix.
This is that burst playstyle I was talking about. If China are going to play well, it needs to be more like this. Keep doing these set executes, taking these towers uncontested.
Look at this. It's just you make one mistake and China will take 2 of your towers in the top lane. This opens up the top side of the map. On top of it, now they can look to try and pressure in on to the mid lane. Memarks gets caught out. Mengji is able to go with the knock-up, and Yichen will find the kill.
He's just going to leave. He's just going to walk out through their jungle, and Yichen here to make sure he can't do it.
Into the fight. Gets hooked on back. World of Hour coming on through. You have the Zenial rejoining. Yichen is able to survive, get an extra auto attack before he falls, and China can continue picking up kills left and right. They're going to trade back as Thailand are able to find 2 members of China for themselves. Either way, though, Tower is just going to survive.
I said watch for creative use of the Zenial ultimate. There you go. Angelic Splendor being used incredibly aggressively, but it provides the healing and damage reduction necessary to keep Yichen alive and give China favorable trades in that fight.
And that's just that extra auto attack you saw come out from Yichen to help secure the kill before he went down. China making quite the aggressive move. They are only, though, up 2,000 gold because you know what? Thailand, they were able to answer back a couple kills of themselves, but looking to try and get themselves positioning onto this Abyssal Dragon, but there's no one near.
But this is where China excel, when they're able to just use set strategy. The second Thailand forces them to adapt, forces them to change their game style, that's when Thailand are going to start winning.
You see Mengji up toward the top side of the map. China going for an invade onto the Sage Golem is going to be secured. Hook comes on through from Moss, but he would have had pretty much no follow-up. His tower up in top lane being abused by Remix. He will not be able to do much, though, as the minion wave gets cleared out. Yichen looking to farm up the minions and also take down that mid lane tower.
Again for free, China finding constant oppressive pressure, and that's what I love from them, because now they've taken all these towers, they can get the Dragon with no contest. Keep building that lead.
That's going to be the 3rd Abyssal Dragon, TJ, at 8 minutes for China. Yichen and Nanwan now starting to get cycling, especially Nanwan. He's sitting at 5-2-0.
Excellent work, and take a look at that game time too. We highlighted the 10-15 minute mark is where Thailand are going to start to win. We haven't yet breached 10 minutes.
Yeah, but you see China, they got that step. They're able to find themselves.
This Slayer's huge.
Yeah, that's going to be the Slayer.
They're going to go
what we saw in game one, but look at the difference here is China have zoned away Thailand toward the top side of the jungle. Yichen, though, he's taking a lot of damage.
Oh, that's big! A massive hook comes through.
Jun is going to get caught out. You got the Zenial coming on down, but China, meanwhile, still in the Dark Slayer pit. They're going to be able to pick it up. Can Thailand try and pick off members?
Yes.
Hungji gets caught out toward the side. Remix finds the kill, and this looks identical to game one, TJ. China, they go for a Dark Slayer, but they get punished.
Terry does go down elsewhere on the map, though, and that's what I want to see from China. Hold on to your buffs. It's not nearly as devastating as that first game, and Thailand indeed need to start worrying about their towers. Yes, you're finding pressure, but there are some people knocking on your doors and cleaning up your jungle.
They're going to go ahead, steal away the bot side of the map. The Sage Golem going to go on to Nanwan. And look at this nice rotation, because now you have Yichen already pushing the wave toward the tower. Nanwan can just come on down. They can pick that one apart.
Yichen doing a lot of damage on the Rourke.
Does a little bit of damage, kind of what happens when you know your strategy is to funnel gold. But even then, he's not super far ahead as what we're used to seeing, but he's still aggressive. He still wants the plays, and Remix is going to be his victim. Zenial rejoining in on toward the fight. Nanwan's going to go ultimate. China still pressuring as they take down two members of Thailand.
Again, that Angelic Splendor was very cleverly used. They waited till Memarks popped his Moonfall ultimate, and then they used the Angelic Splendor specifically to shut it down. They know where they can spend that AoE damage reduction so that it minimizes the damage coming out of the larger AoE from the Crixie.
Abyssal Dragon also now spawning once again onto the map. You can see China looking to rotate, instead opting to go toward the top side of the map.
I like this.
With the Yichen.
I really like the fact that they're beginning to shift up towards the top side, because it forces Thailand to choose, do you want Abyssal or do you want to defend your high ground?
Well, especially, it's exposed. You don't have any more towers available. The hook came on through. World Devourer's out, but Moss is going to get taken on down. Mimark's over toward the side, is able to pick up some damage, but China is still pressing forward as they pick off Moss.
An uncontested Moonfall comes out, and that is why Thailand are still in the game, because the AoE damage coming through just onto the people that aren't even in the front lines is massive from that ultimate.
That's forcing China to have to back off into their jungle, go for some backs, back to base, regen back up. You still see 98K up toward the side lane. This has kind of been his home. We haven't seen a whole lot of 98K, only just during the fights when he is needed.
And I like that from the Zenial. You want to be separated from the team. You want to be able to use your Angelic Splendor as your key team fight ability. That Malleus is very useful as a chase, but you don't necessarily want it to be used in the early phase of the fight as an initiation or anything.
Yichen going to go ahead, pick up the Might Golem. 98K still over toward the side. Remix trying to clear out the minions. Doesn't have any more support here, though. Just trying to force Remix back toward the tower. There is four members of Thailand. So if China were to be aggressive, they would get taken down.
This is, again, though, China pressuring every single side of the map. China, yes, they are not finding value, but they're currently building to their gold lead, which is now exemplary, because they've gotten every single Abyssal, and they're still finding pressure. They're still finding minions on every single lane.
So it's a 6,000 gold lead here for China, still looking toward this bot side tower. Moss going for the blind hook, trying to pick off any member of China that might be hiding in the jungle. Still three members looking to pressure. Instead, they're going to back off again, clear out the jungle. They're slowly just taking more and more gold from Thailand.
Mungi was pressured here in the jungle, and he's the anchor. This is what Thailand needs to do. Press the anchors. Get them out of your jungle so that China don't know where you are.
Well, you see that tower, though, going to get taken on down. 98K tries to go for the play. Gets hooked on back, but that's the tank, though, Thailand. Do you want to go for this? China still pretty healthy. Yichen, though, that's the target you need to take down. Junjun's going to fall. Another hook from Moss. And once again, Thailand is trying their best to stay alive in a game they shouldn't.
This is past that 10-minute mark. Thailand are now starting to power up and get into these proper team fights where their team play gives them an edge.
And there is so much standing gold on the map here. You see Cherry just looking for a dive. They're able to at least clear out the wave on the side of China, but look at bot lane. Now Remix has minions and still 10 seconds before anybody's up.
You said standing gold. That's all these jungle camps on the Chinese side that have not been touched because they've been so aggressive. Now Thailand can clean that all up, close the gold gap, and get a whole bunch of free towers.
You can see it swing back. China just lost 3,000 of its gold lead, now sitting only 3,000 ahead of Thailand. And this is what we saw in game one, TJ. Thailand, they just keep fighting back.
When you get to the late game, it's always Thailand because they get to these situations where they can adapt, where they can throw curveballs into the fight, where Moss now has his hook and his World Devourer every single time for that lethal combo. And they, now that they've scared China out of their jungle, are finally able to get a little bit more map pressure back. Keep that farm close with major pickups like the Abyssal.
Yeah, Abyssal's going to fall here. In Thailand, they understand this is their opportunity to get themselves back into this game, try and get some of this gold on the map. Yichen, though, still looking to farm out. I think the big factor here for me, TJ, is Moss on this crack. He has to land the hook onto the squishy members of China. If they're able to take down Yichen, you saw it in that game. There was even a flash from Remix. Remix almost gets caught out. He has a decent amount of mobility. He's going to get to safety.
So, yes, Moss landing the Grak hooks is major, but I think also Thailand are fine in these fights so long as there isn't a dive onto their backline. I would say there's more focus on Memark staying alive than these hooks being hit.
Yeah, Junjun gets caught off back. World Devourer coming on out. You have the Moonfall coming on through. Memark stays alive. Zenyo now going to rejoin the fight. Nanwan wants to go for the plays. 007, super low. He'll get taken down. Memarks will fall as well. The double kill for Nanwan as China's able to clean up in the mid lane.
Beautifully done. Yes, Memark stays alive the whole fight, but all of the ultimates are blown onto maybe 2 Chinese team members. That's not what you want to do with your biggest damage abilities. You need them to find major value, and now your high ground is under threat.
And Remix, he can't hold this tower, TJ. He's just going to sacrifice himself to try and delay China, but they are not stopping, knocking on the core. China going to tie up the series 1-1.
Beautifully done to tie it up, and it all comes from the fact that one team fight where Thailand get a little bit over aggressive with their ultimates. They end up in a situation where they've used all of their major damage abilities and they have nothing left. If you spend World Devour on the first hook you land, it's not there to keep Memark safe as the fight develops.
And even then, we saw China make the mistake we saw in game one, losing out at the Dark Slayer during a fight. Thailand were able to clean up a couple kills, but they didn't lose the map. They kept up the aggression, and even then they faltered a couple times. But look at Nanwan's damage, TJ.
Yeah, there's a reason he's one of the best mages in this. I think Sui said he thought Nanwan was one of the best mage players currently playing the video game. Seeing that, don't disagree. He plays incredibly aggressive at times, and I love him for it. So many, like you see Memark, he's a very passive mage. He'll always be towards the backside of these team fights, behind a frontliner. That's the common knowledge of where you're supposed to stand. But when the Chinese team is able to find that dive, the split push, Nanwan's always on the front lines.
You saw Memarks there with that Moonfall. A couple times was able to find members of China. You can see, though, China, there are times where they're fighting.